Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is Diego Alvarez.
Avilez.
Avilez. Avilez. Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is Diego Avilez.
There you
go. Thanks for being on the show, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell everybody what you do?
I am a professional exister. I like to exist.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Talk to the camera for me.
Oh.
Hypnotize them with your words. What do you do, Diego?
I play music and exist professionally.
Are you a modern hippie?
Modern hippie, I think would be a good title.
Yeah.
Yeah, just.
I can feel that.
Yeah. But yeah,
you got the hair for it.
Thank you. I've been just trying to channel my inner Jesus, for the last few years.
I was going to say your indigenous side, but you went the Christian route.
I mean, Jesus was indigenous, so.
Ooh. Fun fact.
Just saying, man. Not white Jesus.
Right.
Actual Jesus.
Actual Jesus, yeah.
Actual Jesus.
With the coarse hair.
Yeah. With the coarse hair, yeah. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of there's a show on Netflix called like Sacred Relics or something like that.
Yeah.
And they talk about like the crown of thorns and like the Holy Grail and stuff. And it's just like I'm just like, oh, that's really interesting. But then it's just like it's always white Jesus. Like, like they have like the veil of like Christ.
Yeah.
And like the imprint. And like it looks kind of ridiculous. But anyways.
Yeah, it's almost like how the documentaries of how the archaeologists in like South America, and it's always like the white man talking about it, and it's like, we didn't know why this existed or who built this and stuff like that.
Dude. Yeah, it's cringy. I went to a show at Duke last week, and it was at the National Museum at Duke University, and it was an Andean musician. So it was somebody from Peru, but they're very much in touch with their indigenous roots.
So it's like folk music from there?
Yeah, and música folclórica, right? And it's just like this Andean dude that does like Andean jazz fusion. And it's really cool. It's really, really cool. And he was sharing, he's just been in the mountains in the Andes, like in the south of Peru and La Sierra, by like Cusco and Ayacucho and studying and just like, really, getting in touch with the music and singing in Quechua and all these things, like really beautiful fusion. His name is Freddy Guzman.
Yeah.
And so I went to see that, and and they brought in this filmmaker to like open up. Like the first half hour of the event was this filmmaker. I forgot his name, but it was this old white dude that had gone to Peru and like lived in the jungle for a little bit with some like uncontacted tribes. And like he was just like, he had a PowerPoint just explaining the history of Peru, and it was fucking cringy, man. It was fucking cringy, dude. Like every single.
Was he Peru-splaining to you?
Dude, it was, and he was getting shit wrong.
Oh, really?
That's the cringy part.
Oof.
Yeah, like he was getting like indigenous names wrong. Like he was talking about like the Incan history of like how the world began, and he was like getting like names wrong, and he was like, yeah, and when Francisco Pizarro came and discovered Peru, it was like, like, bro, like it was really cringy. It was really, really fucking cringy.
Oof.
And I was just like, damn, like homeboy just went to Peru once and made a movie, and now he makes money speaking at universities about the wrong shit.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
But yeah, I guess Jesus got us onto that subject. But yeah.
There it is. Well, let's take it back to the music though.
Oh yeah, I'm a
Fucking, you're a musician. You run Oak City Music
yeah.
in the Raleigh, North Carolina, United States area for the international folks.
Hey.
So what actually brought you to music? Did you like grow up with music in your family or stuff like that?
Yes. So
Is it the typical like Latino thing where it's just like music is always broadcasting in the house every day, all day kind of thing?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you've been to Peru. It's like very musical.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just like most Latin countries are. It's just like music is part of the DNA. But yeah, I grew up in church. So I started playing music in church. Started like singing as a little kid, and playing like recorder.
Is that something you wanted to do or forced to do?
It's something that I think I wanted to do, and then the logical thing to put me in that time, because of where like my parents, where my mom was, and it was like, well, you could do it at church, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm glad it happened that way in a sense. It's some good memories.
Right. Man, that's where it started for me too.
Yeah, you know, because I don't know exactly where else I would have exercised that music thing, you know, at that time. But yeah, I started there, and then once I moved to the States, kind of hit the public school sector of music.
Gotcha. How old were you when you moved?
I came to the U.S. when I was 8.
8?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's a pretty vulnerable age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you speak English when you came?
No.
No.
Good. I was 8 and just like fresh little Peruvian boy.
Yeah.
Coming to New York. I went straight to New York City.
Damn.
So
that's a big culture shock.
It was fucking crazy, dude. I mean, like, city-wise, right? Like, Lima's huge, bigger than New York.
True.
And then, you know, New York is huge. It feels bigger than Lima in a sense. So
but that's because like everything's stacked.
Yeah, it's just like buildings and stuff like that, right? Like, it's just like, in that sense, bigger, right? Taller.
Yeah.
So it was like, that part didn't really impact me. It was like the weather, like, you know what I'm saying? Because like summer over there is December through February, you know, like November, and I mean it's like equator, you know, climate, so it doesn't get that cold,
right.
And then fucking getting off the plane. Can I curse? Is that
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And getting off the plane, and I'm just like, it feels like I'm in a fridge. Like I've never experienced cold in my life, like at all. Like,
Right.
The coldest that my body's ever experienced at that point is probably like 60 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
And I'm like getting off that tunnel in the plane thingy, and I'm like touching the walls, and it's like a fucking fridge, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is this?
You thought you were in Alaska?
Yeah, because it was January, so it was like
it's cold.
middle of summer in Peru, and then taking a 12-hour plane ride, dead in like middle of winter, New York City, snow on the ground.
Yeah. You never seen snow at that point?
Never seen snow.
There you go.
Yeah.
What'd you do? What'd you do when you first saw it?
I mean, I touched it. I was like,
Ooh, we touched it.
And then it was like, it like wasn't what I was expecting, because it was like, you know, New York, it snows, it accumulates, it just kind of freezes over. There's just like shit snow on the side. So I was just like touching it. I was like, this is just like ice. Like, it's weird.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I did get my first like snow, like soft TV Hallmark moment snow to like probably a week later or something like that.
Okay, gotcha.
But
you do your angels and stuff like that.
Yeah, like get the, you know, like you experience all the things that you don't think about, the snow in the sock.
Oh yeah,
you know,
right.
and you're just like, but it was crazy. It was crazy. That was the biggest culture change, I think.
Yeah.
Got off the plane, it was like cold as shit, and then I asked for something to drink, and they gave me a Tropicana like juice box, and I was like, what is this? You know, like poking a straw in this box. So you're just drinking fresh juice over there, you know?
Right.
So it's just like, I'll never forget that.
Would you guys move to the Spanish Harlem or something?
Nowhere.
Spanish Harlem?
No, shit. I'd be a different person if I lived in Spanish Harlem. We moved to Queens.
Oh,
Queens,
right.
New
That's
York.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Queens,
New York, which I love Queens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Queens is New York for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, till today. Because, I mean, you go to Brooklyn and, like, Brooklyn is New York, but it's been, like, heavily gentrified.
Right.
Like, heavily gentrified.
I thought Queens was too. Well, I guess
And
everywhere, right?
It's everywhere, but, like, you go to Queens and, like, it's still, you know, like, I don't know. It's still pretty New York.
It's got that foundation of New York. Still.
Yeah, I mean, like, every culture in the world lives in Queens.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Gotcha.
So
then music was real big then, right?
music was crazy. Yeah. And my oldest brother was in like a rock band when I
nice.
was growing up in New York.
What was your first like music experience in New York?
That's a good question, dude. I feel like I saw that within probably the first couple of days, you know, like Subway performers and stuff. And I was like, whoa, okay. Like, you know.
Yeah. Do you not see that you didn't see that in Lima?
Yeah, I did, but never like Chinese artists with like the one string.
Oh, gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like from just like all over the world type
Right,
thing, or like break dancers or like hip hop. You know, it's just like an overload of like music genres. And then I think like my first show was probably seeing like my oldest brother perform at like a park venue type place.
Yeah.
And then other than that, church. We were at church too,
Gotcha.
you know.
Okay, so you got some music from your brother then.
Yeah, my oldest brother was a big influence, I think, in kind of being like, oh, like cool, like music is cool. You know, like
I could do something with this. Yeah.
it was like kind of like the only familial support in a sense, you know, like he put me on to like reggae. He was like, dude, like listen to, you know, like some like Bob Marley. Here's like listen to some Cultura Profética, you know, like listen to like U2, you know, so like
yeah.
kind of like never imposing his musical taste on me, but like sharing his musical taste, and like I think that kind of like encouraged me to build my own musical taste, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
At that point, like, what were you playing an instrument?
At that point, when I got to the States, I was playing alto saxophone.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I played alto saxophone for like, you know, just like band and
school stuff.
Yeah, so probably like all through elementary and middle school, I played I played alto sax, and I played like French horn for like 1 year or something like that.
Gotcha.
And that wasn't my jam.
Yeah.
But then like when I was 12, I picked up the piano. My dad bought me like a keyboard.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned something that like you saw pianos on the streets and stuff like that. Was that in Peru?
Yeah, no, that was in New York.
That was in New York. Oh,
Yeah,
that's right. Okay.
that was in New York. So in New York, they have like public pianos sometimes, you know, or people would just put pianos somewhere, or people would just be playing pianos. But like my first introduction to like salsa was just kind of walking around, and like, you know, you're walking and they'll have block parties. New York has like block parties and stuff.
Yeah.
And just listening to the salsa and like kind of like following the music, and just seeing people, just like little salsa groups, you know, and just kind of walking up and just being fascinated by these like street performers playing salsa. And I can't remember what I was doing. Like I at that point in my life, I definitely was just like hanging out in the streets a lot in a sense, you know, kind of like
it's kind of what you do in New York growing up there, right?
yeah, like, you know, like my parents were working, all my siblings were working, so like I would get up at like 7 a.m, and then at that time I was living in Queens, and I would just like walk out of my house and meet up with like one or two friends, and we would walk whatever 20 blocks
Yeah.
to school, you know, like
Oh, gotcha.
pick up some Dunkin' Donuts on the way, pick up like a bagel or something on the way.
you go.
You know, as a little kid, like we're talking about like this is like what, second grade maybe, you know, like we're kids.
Yeah.
You know.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it builds some grit, you know. Like little kids in New York have grit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least
For that reason.
at least in that time, you know. Like I remember I was already using like student Metro cards, like little kid just going in the bus,
Yeah.
you know, taking the Q bus. And the same thing after school. Like after school, you walk, get a slice of pizza, and just go and fuck around. You know, grab your bike, you know, bike around. And
That seems like fun.
yeah, no, it was great. It was a great time in my life.
So when you saw that salsa performance, was it the whole? Obviously, the whole band. Like, was like you were intrigued by it, right? But like, was it the piano?
It was the piano.
It was the piano that got you.
Yeah, like I don't even remember any other instruments. I just remember the piano.
Yeah, it's like da 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 da.
Yeah,
It's always like ooh.
And I was like, what is this? And obviously, I had heard salsa, and I had played music, but I had never put like the two together. And like I was like, oh, like this is what happens, and you know, like
Yeah.
it was just like a connection that happened. And then I was at church, and I remember I had like, I was trying to learn more piano from like the church pianist, and I asked him, I was like, you know how to play like salsa? And he was like, yeah, like, and I was like, oh, cool, you know, and I was just like always just like taking it in, taking it in, and then it just became about YouTube and just you know immersing myself in learning that and then I took like vocal studies through high school and choral studies already once I was here.
Yeah.
So the music theory part and like the music knowledge always kind of, you know.
Yeah. So it was always by ear first, and then you learned to read later on.
Yeah, well, I was learning how to read, but not necessarily through the piano.
Oh, okay.
I was like learning how to read music through like studying my voice.
Interesting.
You know, like through chorus and things like that. I was learning how to read. And then that knowledge applied over to what I was doing in the piano. But the piano was just kind of learning on my own.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Nobody ever taught you how to play piano?
I took like a few months of lessons from like this lady at church, Miss Ruby.
Yeah. The one you were talking about?
No, that was the church pianist.
Oh, okay.
That was just like some dude. Well, there were multiple church pianists, but that was one dude
gotcha.
that I was like, you probably know how to play salsa. Do you know how to play salsa? He was like, yeah. She didn't know how to play salsa.
Gotcha.
She probably did. She was nasty. But she was just like more like,
Ooh.
you know, like this older like black Panamanian lady.
Okay.
And she like taught me a few things like scales and stuff like that and like fingerings. And then I took a couple of lessons, like a year or two lessons at this like in like weird private Christian clinic while I was like when I like freshman year of high school or something like that.
Yeah.
Where I met some cool people. I met like one or two cool people. It was kind of weird. But you know,
You mean like to do like just people in general or like musicians or something?
Musicians, yeah. Like one of the teachers that I had there, I still keep in touch with. Some Peruvian dude, David. And I met with him recently, you know. And he was cool, and he taught me some other salsa stuff.
Yeah.
And that was cool, like, cause like I've seen him this past year at like some of my shows, you know. He's just like,
Oh yeah.
he's like, dude, like you're playing this stuff, like, you know, like I don't. He told me, he was like, dude, like I kind of want to pick up some stuff from you, and I was like, from me, you know. So that was kind of like a full.
Student became the teacher.
Yeah, it was like a full circle moment in that sense. But I mean, like salsa and like just like most Latin music, Caribbean music has always been like innate. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like these European instruments arrived and like people were just doing. Because as a pianist, you're a percussionist first and foremost. So you're really playing just percussion melodically.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Never thought about it that way.
Yeah, because you're just kind of playing.
Dun, dun, dun,
You
dun,
know?
dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going with the congas, you know, the montuños and the kicks and the cowbells.
Yeah.
And so it's a very percussion section, you know.
Did you have any Latino friends growing up? Because like for me, I didn't. Right. So so in that case, I never really like there was always Latin music in my house, but there was never the influence of to play Latin music and stuff like that?
You know, it's like I've gone through different phases in my life. So like when I was in Queens, I had every type of friend. Polish, Dominican, Black, you know, Korean, Egyptian, you name it.
Yeah.
I had friends. And then like out of the 8 years I spent in New York, the last 2 years I moved out to Long Island.
Okay.
And Long Island was like white. Like the part that I lived at was like white, and then there was like a small like Central American population. So I just kind of like lived within both worlds. You know, it was like the first time that I felt like, oh, like, you know, because like I'm very white passing Latino. And it's just like, you know, like I have white friends that I'm not white enough for a lot of times, and then I have Latino friends that I'm not Latino enough for.
Yeah.
So it was the first time that I experienced that, but I was like, you know, I existed well in both worlds. So it kind of, you know, and then I moved to North Carolina, my freshman year of high school, and that was like Black, white, Mexican, some Central American, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I was like, where do I fit? You know, and it was like, I kind of started fitting within all worlds in a sense. And I think I had a lot of more white friends in that era just because of what I was doing, like music and just some of my interests.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Did you have a lot of different types of friends? Because I mean, I'm sure you got along with everyone.
Yeah.
But is it for you more of like, are you mimicking a lot of people to like get them to like you kind of thing? So you could fit in somewhere?
You know, it's interesting. It's like, I think that this big aspect of like survival kicks in, you know, and like you come in, especially to a place like the South where it's like so.
When you're still a kid too.
Yeah, you're still a kid, and like, and it's segregated, you know, and it's like it's like so segregated that you feel like you have to pick a club, like you gotta pick a side.
Yeah, you mean like in schools and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like cliques and
you know, and like
by race, it's almost like prison.
yeah, and you know, and like looking back at it, I feel like a lot of the white kids that I hung out with had, because of their privilege and their access, I resonated with the freedom that came with. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of like the Latino kids, for the most part, like a lot of the Black and brown kids, maybe wouldn't, you know, go out for like outside lunch for school, like go out and to a restaurant or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is something that I was doing when I was fucking 8-9 years old in New York.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like that aspect of being on the street, being out, like not being in the school all day. Not to mention that like when you move in New York, I had 8 classes a day, you know, like 35, 40 minutes each. And then you come to the South and you have a block schedule. You have 4 classes a day. That's like an hour and a half, an hour, 45 minutes each. Like it's torturous.
Yeah.
Like no wonder kids here are like so like, you know, like their attention, like that's cruel. Like I really struggled when I moved to the South. And, you know, like looking back at it, I feel like I had a lot of my white friends because I was like, bet, like, you know, like y'all have cars, like y'all have access, like let me be cool with y'all, you know, because I mean, obviously like seeing people's humanities, but that definitely plays into a, you know, to a sense where it's just like, I bet like I'm gonna hop in your car and go eat something out off campus.
Yeah.
You know, because like I'm craving to like not live this like Southern, what feels like a very limiting life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's interesting.
Yeah, especially like, being in school for 8 hours and stuff like that, and it's just like,
Dude, yeah.
nah. I was always trying to get out, like lunch times. I was not a big skipper at school until like my senior year.
Yeah.
But yeah, lunchtime especially, or before school, just meeting up with everyone and then going somewhere first.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was always a lot better than just staying on campus.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you you hang out with your white friends and you pick up other things. Like you're like, what are you listening to? Like this is like hardcore. Like some people, like you got some punks, you got stuff that like doesn't necessarily translate to a lot of like at least where I was going to school, like Latino kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
Or stuff that didn't really resonate with me. And like outside of being in school, like when I was not in school, I would hang out with like I had some good friends that were Colombian and like Honduran and like Dominican and like
nice.
a few close friends that like those were like my friends that I hung out with.
Yeah.
And like did stuff and like went to parties and stuff like that and that they were also versatile enough that like I would go, be like, hey, like my white friends are having a party, like let's go here, and it kind of coexist and stuff like that, And a lot of times, so in the demographic here in the South, I did not feel very welcome into Latino spaces till today.
White passing.
Till today, still, honestly,
Right.
Like I've gone to certain places where it's just like Latinx. And I walk in there and people are like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Is
this a Latinx exhibition?
Yeah.
Or I don't know about exhibition.
Dude, it's weird. Like, I think like I understand why, but it's just like, it's like the counteract of segregation that then becomes discriminative kind of itself.
Yeah.
Like kind of like that, I don't
Absolutely.
know. I'm not here to criticize safe spaces, but it's like also like, it's just a weird place to exist in.
Yeah.
Don't
I guess like don't automatically judge someone if they walk into a space that's made for Latinos.
Yeah.
And you think that they're not Latino.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's interesting. I went to this party
unless they're specifically saying brown Latinos only,
right? Which it's like, but and that's the thing, like and then you go to, I think it's like it's a product of like the South, right? Because we've gone to Peru,
right?
We've seen the demographics there in Latin America. It's just like all shades, everything from like you can't even tell people down there like, oh, there's a white Latino. Like it doesn't really register because it's just like, like, huh? Like we're just all Peruvian.
Right. Yeah.
Like even if like your background is Chinese and Japanese and black and indigenous, like literally everybody here is like, it's a rainbow.
Yeah.
It's a rainbow party.
Right. That's the one thing I liked about Peru, honestly, is like, I've never been in a situation. Yes, I'm brown. A lot of people there are brown, even though there's different colors all over. But the fact that I was in a community of other people like me, like that weight of my shoulders of race being a factor, like completely dissipated.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting experience because I never experienced that before.
Yeah. Yeah. Like being aware of like how much that affects.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daily.
And I didn't know that until I went to Peru.
Yeah. Wild. Wild, dude. It's I mean, it's the byproducts of colonization and and here and imperialism here,
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm sure that there are other byproducts in places like Peru because of the colonization.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's a different brand.
Right. So back to music a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So you were playing the piano. You were playing the little saxophone, the alta sax. Whatever it is. When was
played it just like that.
Yeah, it was just like, saxophone, piano. When were you in your first band?
I didn't play music till like college.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Damn.
Yeah, it was crazy. So let me see. My freshman year of college, I was at ECU, And then my sophomore year of college, I transferred over to NC State. So I was back in Raleigh. And I started DJing. So I became a DJ for like a year.
What got you into DJing?
I don't know. I think I was really just like into electronic music at that time.
Yeah.
And I was just like bringing like...
Was it the drugs?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit of everything. I was just like smoking and like doing mixes in my room and stuff, you know. Now, I was always playing music. Like I always had a piano in my room. Always like composing, writing. Like I never stopped playing.
Okay.
But I never played out.
Gotcha.
You know, and then I had
Do you think that was because of the lack of Latinos around you that played instruments?
Yeah, I think it was like a lack of belonging, like not knowing exactly where I belonged and where I could thrive. You know.
So you pick like other stuff that other people are into and kind of gravitate towards that instead.
And also like looking at the current musical environment in the area and that at that time, you know, it was like I don't see any Latin music here.
Yeah.
And if I am playing Latin music, it's like I see it like at the seafood restaurant on Capitol Boulevard, and they're playing salsa, and that's not necessarily what I want to play. Like I do like salsa, I do like Latin music, but I'm also a big fusion of all of the things. I like R&B, you know, I like hip hop, I like soul, I like all these other things, you know, that are very, and you know, the South again, just very segregated, you know. So I DJ'd. I think when I was DJing, it was kind of like I was able to mix whatever I wanted, which brought some cool moments for me. And then shortly after, I met some friends at NC State, my friend Rafa and my friend Kevin and my brother-in-law at the time, David, and we started this like little like rock like cover group, because we were playing for like the NC State Latino Student Union. For like their parties, you know, we play like Mana and like stuff like that. Right? It was like Rafa's band, and you know, we were playing for NC State Latino Student Union and the UNC and then the Duke. So like in those three university districts of Latino students, we'd have like some shows. So that was cool. That was like my first you know,
like introduction to like a band and stuff like that.
Yeah, like
being
like
in a band,
being in a band outside of church,
right.
Playing music that I knew and learned, but and liked, but never got to actually play with my instrument, and being just amongst like Latinx people, you know, that really enjoyed it and things of that sort. Yeah, but you know, I think it shot me into okay, like I've done this, and then I think it kind of started focusing on like work, you know, like survival, like all right, like let me just keep working, let me keep, you know. So I never really touched music much after that, probably for like I don't know, like 4 years or something like that. Yeah, that was just kind of.
I thought
playing in my
you're very
house.
skilled at the piano. I know that, and I did not expect you to say that.
Yeah, I was a hermit for most of my. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Because like for me, like I started being in bands when I was in 8th grade, and band after band after band until like 2 years after high school, something like that. Yeah. So it's kind of flipped now. Yeah. With you.
Yeah, man. It was wild. And then there was a moment in my life where I was working a lot. And I got sick. And I got really sick, and it was like my 25th birthday, where I had like, you know, the same group of friends that I've had since college, since high school here, which was like a mix of like white people and Latinx people, and just like a random mix. And I was working a at the bank at that moment, and I had been a banker for like 2 years, and I had worked like private pharmacy before that, and I was just like, and I had I was like part owner of a food truck, and like I was just like,
the fuck?
Yeah, dude, it was crazy, crazy time in my life.
Yeah.
And I, every once in a while played my piano in my house.
Was it the music? I mean, not the money that was.
Yeah,
That survival of money and stuff like that.
survival money, and I got really sick, and I had to like, sell the food truck with my partners. I lost my job at the bank.
Damn. Because of your sickness?
Because of my sickness, yeah. This fucking bitch that worked there, fucking, just made it impossible for me to get my. She fired me. At the end of the day, I'm glad it happened, but just people, just
not understanding.
Yeah, but looking back at it, it was just like I was never meant to be there, so of course it happened that way.
Right.
But yeah, so then when I was sick for like recouping in bed for like 2 months, this was like 2016, I think.
I'm assuming you don't want to say what you were sick for.
They had like invasive tumor that they had to like cut out, and like when I found out, like I was just like, my anxiety kicked in, my depression kicked in. I was just like, I'm gonna die, so like I'm just gonna like be in my bed for like 3 days, and like it's just like a weird fucking time. And after that it was fine, like it was like non-cancerous or anything, but it was just like a really big scare.
Yeah. Especially when you're waiting for the results.
Yeah, like and it was like a big scare. It was like my body had gone through a lot of things, and it was my 25th birthday, right? Because this happened in late November. I was expecting my golden birthday, 25 on the 25th, right? My birthday's on Christmas Day.
That's right.
So I was like, this is gonna be my best year yet. And it was crazy. It was a complete opposite of what I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah,
I was like laying in bed, jobless, not knowing what was gonna happen. And for the month or two prior, I had begun going to I began tapping, and I had found this like DIY community in Raleigh that was doing like house shows and like punk shows, and started meeting some people.
Yeah.
And I had known them for like maybe like a month or two, some of these friends. And while I was recouping, they were the only ones that showed up.
Like for your, like just to see how you're doing?
Like they just showed up to the house, like, came in, sat with me, and it reset me. It reset me completely. I in that moment, everybody in my life, I dropped. I dropped everybody. Every single friend. I just dropped them. Like I reset completely.
Yeah.
And I said, from this moment on, like I'm doing music.
Interesting.
Like I don't ever want to be in this position again with my health where I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And not have experienced music or like tried to do music.
Something that you love.
Right. Something that I feel called to do and not answer that calling.
Was that like the only thing in your life that really made you happy?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Amongst everything, amongst years of working, like I just found joy in playing, So while I was recouping, I was like barely able to walk still. I put I made some Photoshop graphics and like put out a little advertisement for like piano lessons, and got like one piano student who I still keep up with today.
Nice.
still give him piano lessons every once in a while.
Okay.
And just started teaching him.
Yeah. So you got into teaching before you got into like actually playing with the band and stuff like that.
Got into teaching, yeah. I started teaching him piano lessons, and then I was like, okay, cool. Like, I want to do this, and then I started meeting people out, and then the first group that I was in was a hip hop group with my buddy Trey Mars, and we were playing like acid jazz, hip hop. Oh, and then this is why, and then I started working at a law firm. So like now I was working at a law firm, but my focus was not like, let me grow my career, like let me become a whatever. I was just like, all right, cool. Like I have a good job, so I can play music.
Yeah. Something to pay the bills.
Yeah. So I did that. I played in a reggae group,
Well, so how was your first experience with the band though?
Like
Playing in a band.
It was great. I had a lot of fun.
Were you guys like the type that would rehearse so much and then like go out and perform once in a while kind of thing? Or is it just kind of like just for fun kind of thing?
No, so I think at that time, so I met up with I met most of my what I consider some of my best friends now almost all in one night playing music. Like I met my buddy Logan and Tommy who are in Tumbao with me now.
Yeah.
On one night we're just like playing music till like 6 a.m. So had like a really supportive music. All of a sudden I had like musicians around me that like got me.
Was that a little overwhelming?
Yeah. But it was like it was just
it's
like
all of a sudden like that. Yeah?
It was all of a sudden, and it was more like it was very affirming. It was like, dude, like when you want to do music, like it's here for you. You know?
Yeah.
Like now that you're not deciding to like put it in the back burner, like it's here.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, okay, like. So then my buddy Trey, hit me up. They wanted to do like a project, and then I just hit up my buddies like, hey, y'all want to play in this like hip hop band? You know, like let's just do a hip hop band. And then we formed this squad, called the Kids Downtown, and
Nice.
and we're just doing like live hip hop, you know.
Dope.
And that was really cool. Yeah,
You got some recordings from that?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we
You should put that out.
the first show that we played at the Poorhouse was with it was a mixed genre show, and it was the first show that we ever played.
Oh shit.
And it was like us and our buddy.
It's a pretty nice venue to play at their first time.
Dude, first time. Poorhouse, and it was a sold out night. And it was
Were you nervous?
yeah, a little bit, yeah. And it was with our buddy Juice Lord and this punk group, this badass punk group called Pie Face Girls. It was like punk, rap, and like acid jazz fusion.
Yeah.
And it was like a super dope stuff. So from then on, it was just like, all right, like, you know, we played Cardboard, we played Raleigh, we played like maybe like 10 shows together. And then, you know, Trey had a vision, and then that, you know, we kind of passed the baton to like other people that, you know, are part of his group now. And you know, we're still very good friends. And then after that, I kind of kept exploring, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? You know?
That's nice. That's a good thing about like finally like feeling like we belong somewhere. It's like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. Oh, wow. And then you just start expanding that, man.
Yeah. And I'm very grateful for like the friends that like have always been down to ride. You know, like when I was like, yo, like I want to start like a like not salsa but like Latin project. Like I want to bring salsa elements into this, but I kind of just want to like do random stuff with it. And you know, I had people that were like, hell yeah, like we're down, like let's do it.
Yeah.
You know,
What made you want to do salsa?
I always loved salsa. I always loved montuños. I always loved like.
Did you like? Was it like more like? Was it like a test for you? It's like, ooh, I can play salsa, you know, because it's so like technical.
Yeah,
right?
It definitely was. It was definitely a trial by fire. It was like I wouldn't call myself a salsa pianist, and at that moment, and it was like, but you know what? Like I know I could do it, so fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And also the desire of like being all of a sudden being in a space where like, oh whoa, like I'm all of a sudden playing like the main venues in the city, and I feel underrepresented.
Oh, interesting.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I still see the only Latin music being played around here at the seafood restaurant on Capitol Boulevard.
Right.
I want people at these shows to experience music that I love and that I grew up with, and that's part of my DNA, and I think they will be receptive.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that experiment came out of.
Oh, interesting. Were you always that kind of? Were you always like aware of like your surroundings and the lack of representation in things, events going on and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in that moment, like,
I guess if you're a Latino,
Yeah.
any minority, that's your default. You're always paying attention to that.
It's like, okay, we have black people here, white people here, you know, Asian people here, but like there's not a lot of Latinos here, you know, and it's just like, well, there's not like Latin music playing here. Originally, I started an open jam in downtown Raleigh when this place that is no longer there, called Mojito Lounge, opened up on Glenwood Avenue. I went in there, and I was like, yo, can I throw like an event here on Thursdays? And they were like, yeah, like that's fine. So I was like, cool, like let's do like $5 mojitos, and we'll call it the Latin Jazz Exchange. So it was like a Latin jazz open jam.
Yeah.
You know? And I brought pianos, and there was like a drum kit. I had my friend bring a drum kit, and then people were just musicians from, like, the whole point of it was for musicians that I knew were very talented but had never played Latin music to come and explore playing Latin music.
Oh, interesting.
So I told my friend that I knew from church, that I knew played Latin drums. I was like, hey, just I want you to keep a Latin beat, you know. And then I had friends that were playing all types of stuff come and play over Latin music, and it was really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
never seen that before.
It was really cool, and that's where I met, like, you know, a lot of people from Tumbao. Like I met Julian, our bass player. I met Ray, you know, playing congas.
Oh, that's where you met him?
Yeah, like Ray showed up playing congas one night there, and I was like, so all of a sudden I was just like, okay, like damn, like there's like some potential here. So it was all happening like really fast, right? It was like I started like in the summer, I think, and then by the fall, I had this really, like, I feel like I was in a crisis for like months of like trying to find what I needed to do, and just like kind of like going at it. I was working and I was trying to do music, and like I was like almost like backed up musically, right, for so many years. And then I remember I found this, I had this one night where I was like, damn, like as I do music, I really wanted it to be meaningful. I really wanted to have an impact. And I saw this organization come up, Hands on Peru. And I was also feeling very homesick. So I see Hands on Peru, and I see that they're building Peru's first public health center. And I see that it's this girl at NC State, and I feel like we have some friends in common. So I just sent her a message. I'm like, hey, I see that you have like an org, that you're doing some stuff in Peru. Like, let me know any way I can help you. You know, I was like, I'm a musician. If I can help with music, let me know. Yeah. And she was like, dude, actually, yeah, that'd be great. Like, we're throwing a fundraiser. Like, I'd love to get some help and throw in like a music thing.
And was that the thing that I took photos for? Or was that?
That's the third one, I think, that we did.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, and I think the first one that we did was in 2018. And I was like, well, we could do it at the Poorhouse, I'm pretty sure. And then I hit up two bands that I had played with, and then I was like, damn, like it would, you know, it's Peru themed. I really would like a Latin band to do this. I want to play. So, but there is no Latin band. So then I was like, hey, like, I hit up, you know, all my buddies. I was like, hey, you know, like, hey, Logan, Tommy, Julian, Ray, you know, I was like, do you guys just want to like form like a group for this one event, and we'll just like play some random stuff. Like, I'll bring some songs, and we'll just kind of play like Latin-esque music. Yeah. And then that's how Tumbao was born, out of like a fundraiser event. Yeah. And then from that point on, it was like, okay, this is dope. And then we just started doing it there.
Yeah. That's dope, man. Yeah. I like it when bands are formed in that way. Yeah. Where it's like, it doesn't exist, or there's no other band to play it, or I really want to do this, but there's no other, you know, whatever the situation is, and then it just forms and
organically.
Yeah. It's nice, bro.
Yeah. It was great.
That's cool, man. I like that. Yeah. And it was Peruvian. For the Peruvians.
Yeah, you know, and we're still working with the organization. My friend Katie Barrick runs the org. with her friend Rosa.
Yeah.
And I think like, just hosting events where they've been able to raise like $50,000, like
That's great.
yeah, like the health center is like thriving over there now. It's
Nice.
like it's got 2 floors. It's got like a computer center. It's got like they offer, health screenings and all kinds of things for like very in need of community.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really cool. Yeah.
Did I know because you mentioned that you put on some shows, right? And was that something that was hard for you?
What do you mean?
Like to like start a show here, start a show there, at different places. Was that hard? Because
At first, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's more like a trial by fire.
Yeah, and it was like I know we have good music,
Right.
so
Yeah. Okay.
we did that, and like friends that were seeing it, they were like, "Yo, like this is new. Like we don't know what this is. Like we know it's like Latin, we know it's like salsa, but it's fire. So like
Yeah. Are you talking about the tumbao? Like
tumbao, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like
Yeah, it's a mix.
yeah, I had a friend, Anna and Fion, that did like a thing called Cosmo Ball. Like this little festival that they did, and that was like one of our first gigs. We played Cosmo Ball and played at the Living Arts Collective, and it was like random, like whoa, like kind of like words getting out that there's this like Latin band that plays like fusion, and it's just been growing ever since.
What made you pick the tumbao, the word, and what does that mean for you? For the people that don't know. Actually, I don't know either, but
so tumbao, I think at first we called ourselves the Raleigh Vista Social Club.
Really?
Yeah.
My dad was talking about that. And I was like, that's a hell of a name. So that was that.
We called ourselves the Raleigh Vista Social Club in honor of...
Oh, my dad's Ray, by the way.
Yes.
I don't know if you mentioned
yes,
that.
the conga player, Tumbao. This is his offspring.
Hello.
It's crazy to think that I was friends with your dad before we became friends.
Yeah, that is
wild.
weird. Yeah, people don't know they were bandmates, and I didn't know any of them. And then all of a sudden, I went to their shows. We hit it off, and it was weird because everyone my age knew my dad that was in his 70s, and but they were like cool with him, like friends. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Anyways, it's a whole thing.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, Buena Vista Country Club.
Buena Vista Social Club,
Social Club.
in honor of that. And then I think after that, we called ourselves the Latin Jazz All-Stars. And then at some point, we were like, okay, well, we don't play jazz. Like, we're playing some very, like, off, like, psychedelic stuff. And then the name Tumbao came up to me because I was just like, all right, well, like, Celia Cruz said La Negra tiene tumbao. Like, it's one of her very prominent songs. And Celia Cruz was, the queen of salsa. And she came up from the Afro-Cuban influence into New York salsa in the 1970s, playing with the Fania All-Stars, right? One of the stars of the Fania All-Stars.
Yeah.
And really digging into salsa. But then Celia becomes the queen of salsa because she just keeps pushing the genre forward. So when the time that she came out with La Negra tiene tumbao, that song was not salsa. It was Latin fusion. It was like, it had all types of rhythms in it, like almost reggaeton, like with rumba, with like, she was doing whatever the fuck she wanted and moving the genre forward, which was what I wanted to do with this band.
Yeah.
So like, to me, that always stuck out. Tumbao, tumbao, tumbao.
What does that mean?
Tumbao is like Afro-Cuban terminology, slang for like it's rhythm. It's el tumbao is like a rhythm groove.
Okay.
That's very common in like a part of a song or something like
Gotcha,
that. But it's also used to describe like, you know, like swag or like, you know, internal groove, like physical groove, rhythm of life.
Okay.
You know, so it's like, hey, you know, con tu tumbao, you know, la nena tiene tumbao, like, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, and then it was just like, kind of like this other part of like, well, like how many other bands are probably called Tumbao, but like we're gonna be the Tumbao. Like that kind of was just like, I'm gonna name this band Tumbao.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah. Tumbao.
Was there any other bands named Tumbao?
I'm sure.
Yeah?
Like there's like little.
You never Googled it?
There are. You know, like there are.
Yeah.
There's definitely like. I mean, your dad I think was in a band called like Tumbao Antillano or something like that.
Oh.
So there's just like Tumbao, but it was they're always referred to as like rhythm. You know, like tumbao this or tumbao that or like el tumbao de or like tumbao, but not like just tumbao. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like for me, it was just like, let's make a brand out of this. So now if you search tumbao on Google, our logo comes up like as the first, like on the Wikipedia page of like what the rhythm is.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, like our picture comes up. So it's really cool. So it's getting there, you know. It's getting there. It's been a journey. Man. It's been a journey with this band, but it's been great.
That's great, man. I didn't realize how recent all of this was.
Wild.
That is wild.
It's wild. Late 2018. Yeah. 2019 really starting to hit the fire, and then 2020 pandemic, dead. You know.
How'd you take that? Because your life is in events and parties and festivals and.
Yeah, so 2020 when the pandemic hit, I was working. I was like music, and I was working at the law firm. I was a case manager at a law firm for 3 years at that time.
Wow,
probably more because I started at 26. Probably going on 4 years. So I was like really burnt out, and then I pandemic hit. And they sent me like a laptop at work to work from home. And I never realized how much of a mental clock out I had when I was home. Like it was like, oh, like this is my safe space. Like the law firm doesn't live here.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So when that infiltrated my space all of a sudden, I was done. I lasted 2 weeks working from home and I got fired.
Damn.
Because like I would just like open up the laptop and like my wife beater, you know, like my tank top, and everybody would be looking at me like,
oh, in the Zoom and stuff like
that. You know, like why aren't you wearing a tie? And like it just, I just couldn't, like I couldn't fucking get up in my home and like not be human.
Right.
You know, like, oh, let me put this shirt and tie to be on Zoom to appease what? You know, like I'm here, like what the fuck? Like I'm here, like my work doesn't change, because you fucking. Yeah, I have a tie on. Like we're all like, let's be human. Like why are we pretending to be like robots? Like we're human. Like we're, you know. So like it really put me into this crisis where I was just like, yo, fuck this shit. Yeah. You know, and they were like, hey, you're not a good fit. And then, you know, I got unemployment, which was great. So then I started living on unemployment, and I was like, all right, I have no job. I have unemployment money. And I don't have any gigs to play. So, like, what do I do? And I started throwing shows in the backyard. I started throwing shows in the backyard where I was living at the time. How was that? It was great. I I found this company that was black owned that did like rentals. And I rented a stage from them and tables and chairs. Nice. And I got like 15 tables 7 feet apart, because that's what CDC was saying back then. And all my friends that I had made for that year that I knew were touring artists, really good artists, that were just home because everything was shut down. I hit them up. I was like, yo, it's not much, but I'm throwing a show, you know, shows at my backyard. If you want to come play in front of like, you know, 50 people, you know, 60 people. And they were like, yeah, sure, you know, like, I can pay you what we made, which I ended up being able to compensate bands fairly,
So you were charging people to come in and watch the show?
We were selling by the table. We were selling
by the table.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
because at that moment you could only hang out with like your
peoples.
your bubble or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was selling the tables that way. I was like, hey, you can come in and you can fit your bubble up to like 6-7 people in your table, and the table is $500.
Huh.
You know what I'm saying? So everybody split that.
Really?
Yeah, and it included dinner and a show.
Damn.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And I cooked. I cooked.
And that was in like your apartment place your old
That
one?
was in my old place. I had a big yard.
Yeah.
Over in, like,
was it the one I've been to where it's like kind of a community backyard?
No. The one before that.
Oh, okay.
The one before that. Yeah.
That's wild, bro.
It was crazy. It was wild.
Huh. That's a good idea, though.
It was. We were the only ones doing anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I did that. Booked some bands. Did like 2-band, 3-band bills.
Mm-hmm.
Was able to pay the bands a decent amount, at least $800, $1,000, $1,500 for the set. Something that they would make. At a show,
wage,
yeah. In a time where there was nothing, and I was cooking like fried rice and ceviche, and like
Nice.
feeding people, and
Yeah,
I was
food.
definitely overworking myself. Like I was definitely like, this is too much. But I called those the Oak City Mixer. I called the event the Oak City Mixer, and I did that a few times. It sold out every time. It sold out.
Yeah.
I had to add a brunch date on Sundays.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, dude. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's got to be exciting.
It was great. It was crazy. Like I remember that the last one, it was, an ecosystem. Like I had a friend that set up, they had their own mobile bar business. So we had a bar. We had, the last 2 I didn't cook because I was like, I can't fucking cook, and I played with Tumbao. I was a Tumbao show too at Tumbao, and like our friends Crucial Fire, a reggae band, play, and I had our buddies who now have their brick and mortar restaurant downtown that I had met through the DIY scene because they're just music lovers, and they were always hustling and selling and just making really good hog barbecue. And they were just like they were doing pop-ups and stuff. And I was like, dude, come do this event, Long Leaf Swine. And they were doing, they catered the event. So it was just like a really cool ecosystem. And it was just a community effort. It was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. And those were the Oak City Mixers.
Damn.
And the cops shut us down. They were like, hey, you can't have more than 50 people. And we had like 60 people. I was like, bro, come on. We were checking temperature at the door. We were, hand sanitizing stations everywhere.
Yeah.
Instructions that you could only go to your table assigned. You couldn't get up. You had to like stay at your table and like dance around. Like it was just really controlled, which really sparked. We were really the first ones to start any type of social distance concert event type stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how Oak City Music Collective was born.
That's dope.
Because after we got shut down, I was just like, okay, like this needs to still keep happening. Like I'm gonna have the cops shut us down, and then it's just like, okay, well, no more music.
Right. And it was just because of the COVID rules?
Because of the COVID rules.
Gotcha. So it wasn't because of loud music or anything like that?
Probably some of that, but like the neighborhood probably didn't mind. I had neighbors that would show up and park outside, in the street because they were listening to music.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
So talk to me about Oak City Music.
Yeah. So
What's that about?
It was pandemic born.
Yeah.
Need for events and concerts and community through music while making sustainable systems, while being able to be paid fairly, I remember after that happened, kind of regrouped.
After the pandemic?
After the Oak City Mixers happened, right? And the cops shut us down. I went through a time where I overworked myself to the pulp that I threw my back out for like a month or something. So I was just like resting.
Yeah.
And in that time, I was like really writing down everything that I wanted to manifest for this company.
Huh.
And what I wanted and how I wanted it and all this stuff. And then when I got better, like when my back was good, I was like, all right, like I'm going to go walk around downtown and really just manifest places where I want music and places where I want to do things. And I went.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, and I walked around one day, and I just went to place. And then I walked over by the Raleigh Union Station, and the Downtown Raleigh Alliance had set up this like outdoor co-working space. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, hey, like, you know, if y'all ever want to do something with music, like, let me know. You know, I met my buddy, now, you know, he's now a friend, David Moore, who's the community program director at Art Space in downtown Raleigh.
Okay.
I met him. He was working for the DRA at that point.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, like, let's meet up. And then we met up, and then he was like, I have this program. I would love for us to do a collaboration. And then that was Oak City Music Collective's first event. It was Dine Out Downtown Raleigh with the City of Raleigh and the Downtown Raleigh Alliance.
Damn.
Where we
That's
got
a nice first gig.
Yeah, it was 12 weeks. We shut down certain streets. DRA, you know, closed down the streets. And then I booked about 30 something artists in the city to play outdoors while people dined. And it was like an initiative to get people out dining outside because it was COVID, right? Safe, 6, you know, everything socially distanced, and there be live music and really kind of start bringing live music back. And the beauty of it was like I was hiring my friends. You know, like at that time and till today, people in positions of let's call it power for lack of better terms, but people with access are very gatekeepy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Some of the people that hold the keys to the biggest venues are so gatekeepy. You know, I was just reading something about Lincoln Theater being like initially it started as a black movie theater.
Oh.
You know,
Interesting.
and now it's like, you know, home to like jam bands and like the whitest shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's just like, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because like these people are in places where they can really make a change. A lot of times don't. You know, so we were in a position to really shake things up. And man, I put artists there. You name it. We had reggae, we had Latin, we had blues, we had jazz, we had hip hop, we had soul, we had every single genre that I could think of my friends that I had met.
Yeah.
We plugged them in. You know what I'm saying? And it was a great success. It was like the most diverse musical series that the city had seen. You know? And then
That's dope.
Yeah. So that's how OCMC started, and it's been
growing ever since.
It's been growing. Yeah, we created.
So did you guys collaborate again on other shows?
Yeah, we did. The next thing we did was create this series with David at DRA called Jazz in the Square. That's still going on. There were some things that happened there because, once again, people with access just don't necessarily know how to do the right things, you know? So that has shifted. We did the first one, which was a massive success.
Yeah.
I mean, insane. It was crazy. I mean,
it was well put together.
4,000 or 5,000 people out in Moore Square on a Thursday.
Right.
Like ridiculous amount of people because the caliber of talent. You know what I'm saying? The caliber of talent that was there was like, yo, we have some of the best jazz talent in this series, you know?
Yeah.
And
at different types of jazz.
Different types of jazz, representations of different types of jazz.
Yeah.
And people came out. And then after that, like leadership and, you know, my friend had exited the organization at that point, but leadership was just like, oh, well, we can do this ourselves. And it has shifted ever since.
Yeah.
You know,
Damn.
People don't value the art of curation. You know what I'm saying? People don't value the art of curation.
They just see something they like and they, oh, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, and that's the trend. And that's the trend in places like Raleigh.
Right.
That's the trend. And I'm outspoken about this because we have a responsibility to keep everybody accountable. Each, organization to organization, nonprofit to nonprofit, like everybody that works in the community has a responsibility to everybody in the community to call each other stuff out and stuff that's not right. You know what I'm saying? And anybody that works with me knows that that's my brand.
Yeah.
I say it how it is, and that's okay because I expect people to do the same for me. But nonetheless, we've kept doing events. We've kept putting really diverse shows out there. We just started the International Jazz Open Jam.
Nice.
And it's
that's in down in the basement.
Yeah, Neptune's. Yeah, Neptune's Parlor. Every third Tuesday of the month, and it came out of this need that we saw in Raleigh for like, man, there needs to be a really sick jazz night, and then also like the desire of mine to like, I don't want it to be elitist though. Like I don't want it to be like, oh, like we play jazz, like like
proper shit.
Yeah, like I was like, no, like let's deconstruct this. Like let's decolonize this stuff. If you speak to a lot of, as I speak a lot of to my black friends, there are musicians that are just phenomenal. I had many conversations with my friend Alan Thompson, who plays in Zoo Crew, who does Bull City in the Basement. With my friend Brevin Hampton, we'll talk about how like jazz is not really the term that Black American musicians put on the music. Jazz was coined by the white industry to kind of limit it.
Yeah.
So we're navigating into, Black musicians reclaiming things back, calling it Black American music. So the focus of this jam has been to celebrate Black American music, bossa nova, Afro jazz, Latin jazz, all types of jazz. And it's been wild. Like we have some of the best trios in the region come and lead these jams. The place gets packed out on a Tuesday night. People are jumping up. Their kids are showing up with their instruments, with their horns jumping up. Every single session is so different. It's insane. The Department of Cultural and Natural Resources just sponsored it.
Very nice.
So it's been growing, and it's free. It's free. It's free to the community.
Wow.
It's accessible. It's all ages, as it should be. It's a place for community to gather and grow and learn and have that same type of moments that I had in New York. Where it's just like music is there. Like how can we impact kids? Like kids are going to be the one that like take the baton. In just a few years. So it's like, how can we impact our community through music? That's kind of been.
It's nice. It's got a good setting to that kind of vibe as well.
Yeah, perfect setting.
Yeah,
perfect setting.
Are you thinking about maybe expanding that, or just starting those type of things in different places as different things?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know yet. Okay. I think it's naturally
still living in now.
Yeah, I think it's naturally gonna expand because of the demand. The reception has been really high. Like you go Tuesday night to Neptune's, and it's a crowd. It's such a mixed crowd. People that probably never stepped foot in there are stepping foot in there. Sure. It's wild. It's wild. It's getting packed. We have a Jamaican food vendor now selling Jamaican food all night.
Really?
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's like
Where are they setting up? Because Neptune's isn't like, it's a long place, but it's not like a big place.
In the back, he just sets up in the back. Oxtails and fish and jerk chicken and lo mein, and it's a vibe, man. It's crazy. So I think it naturally might expand to like doing it bi-weekly. I think the demand is there. I mean, we're getting, easily just packing out the place to capacity.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people going through that space.
Man, you have the ability to bring community together. And I think that's an amazing thing, first off. And not just in a one demographic way, in a very world cultured way. And that in itself, again, is amazing. So do you have that? When was that point where I was like, oh, I'm actually good at this? Because you're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about the community. You're thinking about the bands and getting paid properly and all these things the way it should be.
Yeah.
And I guess there's not really anyone doing that, like you said, right? So you're kind of, you branched out into your own thing, and now it's like blossoming.
Yeah, man. It was it's a frustrating place to be. You know, because we're doing this work with a lot of amazing people, amazing artists, and community partners that get it. You know, like there's certain key people that I work with that get it and say, Diego, like I have my hands tied in a lot of ways, but the ways that I don't, let's collaborate, let's do something. And those people have been a huge blessing to what we're doing. And I say it's frustrating because there's so many people like that in the city, in the region, that have the ability to build community, that have the ability to put their money where their mouth is, that talk all day about DEI and diversity and inclusion and equity, and their actions fall short. You know what I'm saying? Their money falls short. Their funding falls short. That's just like, yo, put your money where your mouth is. You know what I'm saying? I'm really grateful for the partners that we've created relationships with the last couple of years. Definitely like the venue owners, you know, the Poorhouse, Kings, Neptunes, you know, amazing management and ownership there. Artsplosion, you know, the Department of Culture and Natural Resources. With Artsplosion, we've been doing First Night Raleigh, which is the New Year's Eve event.
Right.
Bringing like a super diverse.
Yeah, so that's another thing that Oak City Music is doing. Right.
Doing First
Night
Night
Raleigh. Just
Raleigh.
recently found out that you guys actually are taking part of booking all the bands.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah.
That's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
That's
Second
a lot
year.
of
Yeah,
bands.
we're booking. So Artsplosion, our homegirl Cameron Laws at Artsplosion, who's the creative director. She's great, phenomenal, good friend, amazing artist, and she curates a couple of stages, like the main stage, and she does some programming. You know, aside from everything that Artsplosion does for the festival, they put a Ferris wheel on Fayetteville Street, like you name it, like they do all that stuff, you know. And we got together and we're like, yo, like let's have Oak City curate some venues and like really just like let's, you know, like collaborate, like let's create something really cool. And it started last year. We had 4 venues with 4 different, you know, 12 different artists. This year we have 3 venues with 8 different artists, ranging from hip hop to acoustic soul to experimental. We have R&B. We have an electric violinist R&B ensemble. We have Black Friday markets turning into a jazz venue again for the second year in a row. Yeah. So it's just like kind of, you know, really diversifying this
not just getting the same old bands or the same old type of music.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And like not being gatekeepy, you know, like trusting when you have, and that's the thing when we say about people don't appreciate or value artist curation. As artists, we're able to see and identify things that other people don't. You know what I'm saying? You might be a money machine, you might know your numbers, but you'll never have the curation that an artist does. You know what I'm saying? Like we hire artists that perhaps are not the most developed. They don't have all the right,
well known. They don't have like 1 million followers.
Right. They're not well known. They don't have any tracks out. They don't have a press kit. They don't have a follow. But they're so talented that they should be on a stage. And sometimes there's opportunities where that stage comes in with a built-in crowd, and it's our duty to put an artist there like that. You know what I'm saying? Like an artist like that should have an opportunity like that to share their art and kickstart their following, kickstart their career, kickstart, you know, their everything. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like that's how you build community. Like we don't have to be so gatekeepy. Like, oh, you gotta pay your dues. Like nobody has to pay any dues. You know,
dude, I'm so sick of like paying dues and all that. The term paying dues.
Yeah, yeah.
It's everyone should be growing together. That's the thing. Don't tear anybody down.
Right.
Just grow together, man.
Right. Yeah.
Stop fighting each other.
Yeah, paying dues is just a weird concept of supremacy.
Right.
You know,
The gatekeepers. But the people that you're partnered up with, the venues, the sponsorships, everything like that, like I'm sure maybe at some point that they obviously would know more people like them that are even on a higher level that could put you in a position where you're doing bigger and bigger things.
Yeah, you know, it's always about, it has always been, in my experience the last couple of years, it has always been about key people that get it.
Mm-hmm.
People that all of a sudden have the keys to a gate and they open that shit up and they let it flow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Back in 2019, I think it was 2020, middle of the pandemic, you know, when Tumbao wasn't doing much, our, you know, now friend, Jeanette Hoffman, who does a lot of the programming for the North Carolina Museum of Art, she puts, you know, killer lineups at the NCMA. I mean, you're talking about Jacob Collier, Lala Hathaway, you know, Eddie Palmieri that they had this year. Like, just people that, like, if you haven't gone to the North Carolina Museum of Art music series, you should go. You're phenomenal, like once in a lifetime artist. You know, she hit Tumbao up to do a PBS special, to do a broadcasting on PBS.
Right.
You know, and and it was crazy.
Were you surprised by that?
You know, I was. It was another moment of like affirmation for me. Like, okay, like you're doing the right thing. You know, like do the music that you want to do. Don't do what anybody else is doing. Like, do what you want to do. You know,
Yeah, and that'll shine.
It'll land you in the right places. You know, and my hope has always been with Tumbao to be inspiring to other artists to do the same.
Yeah,
you know, so we did that, and that definitely started pushing us in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? 2 years later, I mean, we played the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. You know, we just came off playing the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery.
Yeah.
We know main stage at Shikori Hills. Like, we're really, really fortunate to be playing some big stages now, you know, and really, you know, looking to the international stages in this next year and two, and working on some big projects, and you know, releasing some. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah, I feel like you guys should make like a live album.
Yeah,
that live sound.
There's nothing like the live sound. I know.
Especially when it comes to like Latin, even Latin fusion or anything like that.
Yeah, we need a live album. Yeah, no, we're working on it.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it's been wild, and for me, it has been about every relationship that I have made playing with my own project, playing with Tumbao, has been carried over to Oak City Music. You know what I'm saying? And how can we, in partnership, also extend that to other artists? You know, extend those opportunities, that network, to other very well-deserving artists.
Yeah.
You know, that are doing phenomenal things in their own lane.
Right.
You know?
Right. And then you're not just, you're booking bands for shows and stuff like that with Oak City Music. But bands are coming to you for them to be on a show that's paid, and your job is kind of the middleman of booking the band, but also making sure that they're being paid properly and everyone's eating, pretty much.
Right.
That kind of thing, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah, that's right. That's the advantage of having artists at the core of it, right? Like Oak City Music is it's a collective. Oak City Music Collective is by artists for artists. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, you can't lowball me. You know?
Right.
I'm not a shady promoter that's just like, oh, let's make it work. And I'm just like, come on, like, let's make it work. I'm just like, no, like, I know the industry prices. I know what people are paying out there. The more that I do with my own band, I know what's possible. So like, I'm gonna ask for things. I'm gonna, and when even when it extends into things that people don't think of as non-artists, like like, okay, cool, like you're paying the band $1,000. Okay, that's a fair budget depending on what it is, right? And depending on the band, $1,000, it could be fine. But we're also gonna need you to cater. We're also gonna need you to bring some food and bring some water and bring some snacks and like, what I'm saying, like
do the whole shebang.
Yeah, like you wouldn't imagine how many people are in like booking positions, writing check positions that don't even know you have to have water for artists.
Right.
It's just like, yo, like
common sense.
We're humans too, like this event doesn't happen without us. So yeah, it's been interesting. It's shifting into, Oak City Music Collective started with the production, booking the talent for those productions as we're still doing, and then a lot of gaps began to show when artists would say, hey, we want to play this, and we were able to identify like, okay, like, you would really benefit of having this and that in order to do this more. So out of that came our consulting programs, the coaching programs that we do, the artist development side, right? So now you have the production side where we do events, and you have your artist development side where we help artists create, grow their brand, grow their logistics, their bookings, everything. So they are really well equipped in how to make music a full-time career and make it profitable and make it sustainable. And because of the influx of musicians that reach out, I mean, we're probably at about 1,000 artists that have reached out for representation and like booking assistance and help. It's kind of shifting by 2024, 2025 into another entity that's going to come up. That's going to be a talent group, kind of like a label, talent representation entity. Yeah. That'll be separate from what Oak City is. And we're kind of working on building that, and that's going to be really exciting.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, that's great.
So the first one to hear it.
Hey, you're here to hear it first. It's the debut of the label.
Drop it for me.
Hey, you need a host? Let me know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's great, man. I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for another few hours on things, but we're both hungry.
Let's do it.
Let's go get some food.
Let's get some food.
But why don't you tell people like where they could find you, where they could find Oak City?
So Oak City Music, link up with us on Instagram at Oak City Music. You can check us out at oakcitymusic.com. And I don't know when this will be airing.
In a few weeks.
But in a few weeks. Okay. So if it's, before New Year's, check out First Night Raleigh, and hopefully every year, First Night Raleigh.
Yeah. It'll be before
New Year's Eve. Okay, yeah. So yeah, come out to First Night Raleigh. The New Year's Eve event we do with Artsplosion.
Downtown Raleigh, North Carolina.
Downtown Raleigh, North Carolina. And if you're in Raleigh, North Carolina, check out every third Tuesday of the month, the International Jazz Open Jam at Neptune's.
Does that like have a season?
What do you mean?
Like, do they stop like mid-December?
Nope. We're gonna keep doing it every month. Yep, for the rest of the year. Gonna announce the 2024 season in the next few weeks.
Oh, like a lineup?
Yep.
Oh, nice. So that's all like prepped and ready to go. And
yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, man.
So we're doing that, and then check out Tumbao. Yeah, on Instagram, Tumbao Band, or TumbaoBand.com, and come to a show sometime.
Yeah, definitely go to their show because the live shows are amazing.
Thank you.
They're very good. Very good.
We'll be all across.
I'm not biased.
Yeah, we'll be everywhere. We'll be all across the East Coast, and hopefully venturing out west, and probably in Latin America soon too. So,
dope.
Yeah,
right,
but yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, bro.
That's it.
Sick.
My man.
Love you, bro.
Yeah, man. You
appreciate
too.
You. This shit.
Yeah, you liked it?
Yeah, dude.
Why don't you say that into the microphone?
I love this shit.
Oh yeah, you like that shit?